The Honourable Damien O'Connor.
And I've been on duty in the House, and I've been swept up in the spirit of unity, and I have to make a speech, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to acknowledge the member in the seat. I think a wonderful initiative is on his part, and I have to actually acknowledge the government, because I believe they are going to support this legislation, and I think that is great. We, on this side of the House, do understand the importance of R&D and the celebration of success, to the point where we are going to commit a huge amount of funding for research and development, which I am sure the honorary fellows and the members of the Royal Society will appreciate probably more than the passage of this legislation, because the one thing that they have been battered around by over the many, many years that these people have committed their lives to science is the uncertainty over funding. So we will commit not just this piece of legislation in supporting the member, but actually funding to support their work. A couple of questions I have, Mr. Chairman. And one is the government has passed and supported many pieces of legislation in this House, most of them bad. But this is a good one, and they're supporting it. And I kind of wondered why, because I went through, and of course what it effectively does is include the humanities. And to, I guess, the average New Zealander out there, they'll be asking the question, what are the humanities? And I guess if you go to the definition here, it includes languages, history, religion, philosophy, law, classical linguistics, literature, cultural studies, media studies, art history. If you wanted to summarise those, or if the government was wanting to summarise those things over its efforts over the last 2.5 years, do you know what they would probably call them? Nice to haves. That's probably what they would call them, nice to haves. And we saw that when the government chopped adult and community education, and it chopped funding for tertiary education courses in this area of what is called humanities. So the question I have, and I know the member in the seat will struggle to answer, so I won't ask him particularly, but perhaps a call can be taken by the government members as to how they can rightfully support the inclusion of humanities alongside mainstream science and its recognition, yet when it comes to training and encouraging people from grassroots into courses that are, by this definition, called humanity, then the government says, no, they're nice to haves. No good. Well, Mr. Chairman, this acknowledgement and this piece of legislation, if nothing else, acknowledges those areas of science deemed humanities as being just as important and right alongside the other traditional areas of science. And that is good. That is good. And hopefully this might allow the government to extend its vision and to do that through its other economic policies. The second question I have, Mr. Chairman, is one of honorary fellows. And the definition was that generally it is people who are outside of New Zealand, or people who have made a significant impact on New Zealand in many ways. And actually someone sprang to mind, and I thought, I wonder if he has been made an honorary fellow. And it's Alan Greenspan, the US Federal Bank Treasurer, who probably had more impact. The member shakes his head and thank God he hasn't been made one, that's right. But the question of from here on in, with increasing levels of foreign investment and ownership, because that's what the government wants, whether people connected to the new owners, or they may in fact be new owners, whether they are entitled to honorary fellowship. I would hope not, Mr. Chairman. I hope, and the member, I'd hope that the legislation doesn't open the door for that. But the reality is, under the current government policies of increasing levels of foreign investment and control and influence, then one might conclude from that that an honorary fellow might indeed be something, Mr Chairman, we don't support.
I call the honourable member Tim McIndoe.
I move that the question be now put.
No, I'm going to acknowledge the honourable member Dave.